A knockout win is what boxing fans love to see the most, especially when it's a knockout in the first round. It is undeniable that we, the fans, love to see how, after an accurate and powerful blow, a fighter begins to struggle. He loses his coordination, tries to recover with all his might, but still falls to the floor of the ring.
And Sanchez again slides down the front of him, left, right.
In the history of boxing, there have been many spectacular knockouts, but some fights ended due to illegal punches. In such cases, the fans are always divided into two groups, one of which supports the spectacular knockout, and the other which demands adherence to the rules. Let's remember some of these scandalous fights and decide for ourselves which group we belong to.
A unanimous decision victory against
look at this.
Butler. Whoa! Butler just ran across the ring.
Butler just went over there, sucker punched and knocked out Grant.
In July 2009, Billy Dibb fought Kenichi Yamaguchi for the WBO Asia Pacific Featherweight title. Billy the Kid Dibb was one of the biggest Australian names of the 2000s and 2010s. He was a talented featherweight and a super lightweight fighter that had a solid record of 22-1, with his only WBO world title loss against Steve Luvano. Just 9 months after that fight, he met with Japanese fighter Kenichi Machine Gun Yamaguchi. Yamaguchi started his career with a draw, and his record was 4-1-1 before going on a 12-fight unbeaten streak that led him to his fight with Dibb. Immediately after the bell, Yamaguchi rushed to Dibb, but the Australian dodged the attack. Soon after, the Japanese fighter managed to land a hard left hook, after which Dibb was knocked to the floor. The knockdown was counted even though the blow from which the Australian fell struck the back of his head. Dibb did not protest the blow and the fight resumed. Yamaguchi boxed dirty, which made it very difficult for Dibb to stick to his game plan. But in the third minute, the Australian went on the attack and sharply dropped Yamaguchi with a right hook. Then, he swung again and hit the defenseless Japanese fighter. It was a clear foul, but referee Les Fur counted the knockdown. Yamaguchi was shaken from the blows and the referee stopped the fight, giving the victory to Billy the Kid Dibb. Ultimately, Yamaguchi's team approached the WBO, which declared the fight a no contest the following month. Fortunately, common sense prevailed over the fight, but this did not justify the chaos and controversy that occurred in the ring. In May 1995, a rating duel took place between two promising boxers, Polish fighter Andrew Golota and the Tongan-American fighter Samson Pouha. Both fighters already had impressive records and gradually rose to the top of the boxing world. Andrew Golota was an undefeated boxer and had been declared the winner 23 times in a row, 20 times ahead of schedule. Behind him was a long and rather successful amateur career, which culminated in a bronze medal at the 1988 Summer Olympics in Seoul. His opponent, Samson Pouha, had a record of 15-1 and preferred to end his fights quickly. All of his 15 wins were by knockout. Pouha had great strength, but when a fight dragged on, he often lost his form. Here's what happened in this confrontation. The first two rounds were dictated by Golota. In the third round, Pouha was counted out through two standing knockdowns. It seemed that Golota was invulnerable in this fight, but something happened in the fourth round. Pouha shocked Golota with a hit from the right and began to destroy Andrew with powerful punches. Golota was barely on his feet and began to clinch to escape from his opponent's attacks. In one of these clinches, he bit Pouha on the shoulder. The referee ignored Samson's complaint about the bite and simply gave the command to continue. Golota was on the verge of a knockdown, but managed to survive until the end of the round. After that, the Pole had a cut on his forehead. Golota recovered and knocked down his opponent 3 times in the 5th round, after which the referee stopped the fight in his favor. It was odd that Golota wasn't deducted a point for the bite, but that wouldn't have changed the outcome of the fight. Another scandalous fight took place on July 31, 2010, between super middleweight contender Sakio Bika and undefeated Jean-Paul Mendy. The winner of this bout was to become the mandatory challenger for the IBF super middleweight title. Australian Sakio Bika, nicknamed Scorpion, had won his last 6 fights, but had not fought for a whole year. Although Mendy had an impressive series of victories, this was his first high-profile fight, and few people had heard about him in the United States. Mendy was fast and had good defensive technique, but was inexperienced and untested. After the bell, the fighters started cautiously and tested one another with jabs. Mendy was the first to miss an incoming hard left hook from the Australian fighter. Bika checked his opponent's body and then unleashed a series of punches to the head. His first with the left hook, then with a right cross, then with a hook again. Mendy dropped to one knee in a knockdown, but the Scorpion could not be stopped. He landed a wild, illegal right uppercut to the chin that sent the Frenchman to the floor. Referee Joe Cortez disqualified Bika at 1 minute 18 seconds of the first round, and Mendy was immediately taken to the hospital. A high-profile scandal occurred at the European Junior Boxing Championships in Zagreb, Croatia, 2014. On the first day of the tournament, Croatian Vito Lonkar and Lithuanian Algirdas Banulius entered the ring. In the second round of the fight, the judge counted a technical knockdown to the 18-year-old Lonkar, even though Vito showed that he felt great and was ready to continue boxing. But the Polish referee Mageja Zajirgota awarded Lonkar an early defeat in the fight, which caused a violent overreaction from the Croatian. The opponents went to the corners. Dissatisfied with the decision of the referee, Lonkar removed his gloves, and without waiting for the announcement of the name of the winner, he attacked the referee with his fists. One of the seconds of the fight managed to quickly react to the situation and pull the boxer out of the ring. As a result of the incident, the referee was taken to the hospital with a head injury, and Lonkar was arrested by local police. In this incident, a trial was launched, and Lonkar's coaches, who took him to the duel, were disqualified for a time. Vito Lonkar, however, later received a lifetime disqualification from boxing. Next, we focus on the strange trilogy between American Terry Norris and the Dominican Luis Santana. This unlikely rivalry began a popular joke in boxing. Terry the Terrible Norris was one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, while Luis El Cucuso Santana was an average fighter and almost 10 years older. In their first fight, which took place in Mexico City in November of 1994, Norris, at the peak of his career and the reigning champion of the WBC 154-pound division, came out on what he thought was an easy title defense. He was fast and easily won the first 2 rounds. Then, in the third, Santana landed a right cross on Norris's chin, shaking him. Later, El Cucuso pulled Norris to the floor of the ring, and for some reason the referee countered a knockdown. Terry was outraged. Santana continued the fight, and in the 4th round, Norris lost a point for headbutting Santana, causing a cut that bloodied Luis's face. With a score of 2-2 in the rounds, the boxers advanced to the 5th round. Terry put pressure on and hit a lot, but the Dominican fighter kept his punches. A minute before the end of the round, the boxers were near the ropes. Norris was behind his opponent and inflicted a prohibited rabbit punch. El Cucuso instantly fell and did not rise again. He was carried out of the ring on a stretcher and was later told he had a mild concussion. Norris was sure he was faking it. However, he lost the belt, and it was clear that there would be a rematch. 5 months later, their second bout took place in Las Vegas and once again left fans with another shock. Norris was considered a 13-1 favorite. Terrible Terry took the first round by a wide margin in significant blows. In the second round, he managed to drop Santana after a right cross and a series of hooks.
Another right hand doing the damage, and Norris sends Santana to the deck.
Through the end of the round, Norris destroyed his opponent with wild punches, but he withstood everything. In the third round, Santana was knocked down again after a right hook. And then, Norris landed another blow on the already down Dominican. But the blow was not strong and the referee did not pay attention. It was, however, a wake-up call that Norris was not fighting cleanly. Until the end of the round, Terry dominated the ring, and then something happened that no one expected. The bell rang to end the round, the referee separated the fighters and said something to Santana. Norris, who later claimed he did not hear the bell, rushed to attack as soon as Santana began to move away from the referee. He knocked him down with a hard right cross. Santana didn't even have time to raise his arms to defend himself. As in the first fight, Santana was carried from the ring on a stretcher, and Norris was disqualified. In the third fight, 4 months later, Norris finally defeated Luis Santana by knockout in the second round and took away his WBC belt. This is one of the wildest and strangest trilogies in boxing history. The next fight was not even between boxers, but former professional cricket players Andrew Penn and David Lawrence in a celebrity exhibition boxing match. Immediately after the bell, the men rushed to attack. Andrew Penn started first, aggressively attacking his opponent. Lawrence quickly took the initiative and unleashed a hail of powerful punches to the head. Penn went on the defensive and tried to counterattack. The referee did not let the boxers enter the clinch, and Lawrence then attacked Penn and threw him onto the ropes with a powerful right cross. After another hard cross, Penn was in a standing knockout, but Lawrence was merciless. The referee tried to stop the fight, but Lawrence was not paying attention. He continued to throw wild punches, and Andrew Penn fell into a deep knockout. David "Sid" Lawrence was disqualified, and the victory was given to Andrew Penn. In August 1994, a boxing match took place between former world heavyweight champion Riddick Bowe and undefeated prospect Buster Mathis Jr., who had a record of 14-0. The only loss in the career of Big Daddy Bowe was inflicted in his last fight by Evander Holyfield, who took back the WBA and IBF belts. After a series of fight cancellations due to Bowe's injuries, the fighters finally entered the ring. The experienced Bowe immediately took center stage and confidently won the first 3 rounds. Big Daddy was comfortable working at a distance when Mathis Jr. got out of the clinch. A minute before the end of the round, Bowe quickly began to attack and forced his opponent to kneel with a series of hard punches. But Riddick couldn't stop and landed a hard, powerful right hook that knocked Mathis out while he was kneeling. It was initially said that Bowe would be disqualified for the violation, but the decision was made to declare the fight a no contest.
Now it remains to be seen what decision Mercati's going to make here.
Continuing our theme, we now come to a fight that, boxing fan or not, everyone has heard about. We are talking about the rematch of the legendary heavyweights Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield at the end of June 1997. 7 months prior, their first fight ended in an unexpected victory for Holyfield. He was a serious underdog, but he surprised not only the entire boxing world, but also Tyson. He lost the WBA belt and received the second loss of his career. But after the first bell, we didn't see that aggressive Tyson we used to see. At the beginning of the second round, Holyfield dodged Tyson's right cross and headbutted Mike in the face, resulting in a cut over his right eye. Tyson repeatedly complained about headbutts in their first fight.
I just got a pretty good glance at it. Pushing into the ropes by Holyfield.
Tyson started the third round aggressively and hit well. Both fighters landed significant punches throughout the round. At the last minute, in the clinch, Tyson suddenly bit Holyfield on the right ear. Holyfield jumped in the air in pain and twirled, bleeding profusely from the bitten wound. The referee wanted to disqualify Tyson, but obeyed the doctor's decision and allowed the fight to continue. He punished Mike by deducting 2 points. The fight resumed, and during the next clinch, Tyson bit Holyfield again, but now the left ear. The referee did not see the second bite take place, and the fight continued until the time expired. The boxers went to their corners, and when the second bite was found, the fight was stopped. Holyfield won via disqualification and retained his title. And Mike Tyson, for his unsportsmanlike behavior, not only received another defeat, but also lost his boxing license and was fined $3 million. Now, let's recall the middleweight fight between the German undefeated IBF champion Arthur Abraham and the American Andre Dirrell as part of the Super 6 World Boxing Classic Tournament. King Arthur Abraham was somewhat passive in the first half of the fight, allowing the American boxer to dominate the ring. Dirrell easily outboxed his opponent and knocked Abraham down for the first time in his career in the fourth round with a left cross. Toward the end of the battle, realizing that he was losing on points, King Arthur seized the initiative. In the 10th round, after an accurate blow, Dirrell was knocked down. But despite the obvious knockdown, the referee did not proceed with a count. In the 11th round, Andre slipped and knelt, but Abraham, carried away by his attack, struck Andre's head, knocking him down and leaving him on the floor holding his head. The fight was stopped, and after a while, the ring announcer announced that due to the disqualification of Abraham, the victory was awarded to Dirrell. This decision was discussed for a long time in the world of professional boxing and caused a lot of conflicting responses. In September 2000, a strange match took place between the undefeated WBA champion Freddie Norwood, who had an impressive 38-0 record, and title contender Derek Gainer, with a 35-5 record. Norwood won the WBA featherweight title back in April of 1998. His fight with Gainer was his 9th defense. Gainer had lost only once in the last 19 fights and was determined to take the belt from the champion. Gainer won the first 2 rounds and knocked Norwood down with a hard left cross in the second minute of the second round. In the 3rd round, Freddie started fouling and landed some nasty low blows. In the last minute of the 5th round, again a couple of blows to the groin from Norwood. In the 6th round, Gainer hit a tight uppercut below the belt that clearly looked like revenge. And this was after the referee began to separate the fighters. In the 8th round, there was a beautiful and powerful jumping uppercut from Gainer, which stunned the champion. But in the 2nd minute of the 9th round, Gainer finished what he started and sent the opponent to the ground with a pair of hooks. In the next round, Norwood opted for a hip throw and later added an illegal rabbit punch. The climax came in the 11th round. At the beginning of the round, the fighters exchanged low blows. Norwood struck first, but the referee did not intervene. And then, Gainer answered with 2 strong uppercuts to the groin, from which the champion fell to the floor of the ring. The referee strangely began counting Norwood to 20, instead of letting him recover. Freddie barely got up to the count of 18, and the referee stopped the fight in favor of Derek Gainer. Referee Paul Sita later said that he did not see Norwood fall from the blows to the groin. Gainer, although he won on judges' cards, thanks to the refereeing of Paul Sita, inflicted a TKO defeat on Freddie Norwood. The next incident occurred not during a fight, but after it. This is the fight between James the Harlem Hammer Butler and Richard Alien Grant in November of 2001 in New York. It was a charity fight for the survivors of the New York firefighters and policemen from the September 11, 2001 attacks. These boxers had already met at the beginning of their careers more than 4 years prior. Then, the representative of Jamaica, Richard Grant, won in a 4-round fight. After that, Butler went on a streak of 16 wins in a row, but lost his last fight for the IBF super middleweight title, whereas Richard Grant alternated victories and defeats. On paper, everything was in favor of the American fighter. But in the rematch, Butler again lost the fight to Grant. Grant outboxed Butler and won by a 10-round unanimous decision. While Richard Grant was celebrating, Butler's gloves were removed. The Jamaican approached the opponent's side of the ring for the expected exchange of congratulations. But instead of shaking his opponent's hand, Butler landed a right hook to the unsuspecting Grant. Grant received a dislocated jaw and a torn tongue which needed 26 stitches. Butler was arrested and charged with aggravated assault. Butler was later convicted and served 4 months in a detention facility on Rikers Island. The last fight on our list was between undefeated boxers Roy Jones Jr. at 34-0 and Montel Griffin at 26-0. Dubbed the Battle of the Invincibles, it took place in March of 1997 for the WBC light heavyweight title held by Roy Jones Jr. The three-weight world champion Roy Jones was a big favorite in the fight, but Griffin, who controlled the start of the fight, surprised everyone. Griffin quickly beat Jones on points, but he adjusted to his opponent's style, and by the 9th round, Griffin was ahead by only 1 point. In the 9th round, Roy Jones picked up the pace and unleashed a flurry of punches on his opponent. Griffin could not withstand such an onslaught and sat down on his knee to avoid more damage. But Jones could not stop. He delivered 2 side blows to the unsuspecting opponent, from which Griffin fell face down on the floor. Referee Tony Perez then started a countdown for Griffin, but he was unable to continue the fight. Roy Jones thought he had won by knockout and began to celebrate, but then the referee announced that he had disqualified him for an illegal punch, which gave Jones his first professional defeat and made Griffin the new WBC light heavyweight champion.
Down in a knockout, or so it appeared from here.
If you have enjoyed this video, please click the like button. Leave your comments below and press the bell to turn on notifications. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so right now. See you next time in the ring.